Hello, everyone. This is Tom Fox back for another episode. I'm thrilled to have with me Deanna Eixman. Deanna, first of all, welcome.
Thank you. It's good to see you again. It's good to be here. Thank you.
That's good because you're part of the reason we're here today, helping me get this podcast started. I wanted to sit down and visit with you and have you tell us a little bit about your story. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in a little town called Jones Creek, south of Houston on the coastline. So I moved up here in 2014.
As I recall, you played sports in high school.
I did.
Tell us
I
about
did.
that.
I was a volleyball player and a basketball player. I got a scholarship at volleyball at Baylor to play volleyball and studied art. So that's what I did. And then I moved up here and I coached for a long time too. I coached a lot of volleyball, club volleyball and all the good stuff and loved it. I still get the jitters every time I walk into a gym because it's like this, I don't know. It's obsessive. I have not mentioned that to too many people up here because I was trying just to get going with my art, and volleyball can take over my life just like art can.
Tell us about your art. First of all, tell us about your website.
Sure. My website is deannaeixman.com. And on there, you can see the different styles of art that I do. I love to do animals, wildlife. I do a lot of pet portraits, but I also like playing with the palette knife and just getting in there and doing some fun stuff with the palette knife and watching the colors blend on the canvas itself. With my animals, I tend to get really detailed. And so by using the palette knife and not having as much control, it makes me let my hair down a bit with the art.
And did you mention landscapes as well?
Yes, sir. That's what I mostly do with the palette knife is
Landscapes. You told us you studied art in college.
I did.
So that means you started before you got to college. Tell us how you got started.
Gosh, I don't even remember. I have been doing art like a lot of artists most of my life. Remember doing art as a little girl. My mom would bake wedding cakes and different birthday cakes, and I would sit there and draw designs, and she would take those designs and lay wax paper over them and take what she called royal icing and make those same designs out of royal icing, and then when it dried, transfer it to the cake. And that was fun for me. Always have drawn animals, always have drawn horses. The first time I really had any kind of a lesson was in charcoal. And it was a little summer program that was offered at the church. Other than that, I really didn't have any kind of lessons until I got in school and started taking art as one of the elective courses.
What was it like to study art in college, particularly at Baylor?
Oh, wow. I was playing volleyball for them at the same time. And so between art and volleyball, my time was very stretched. So a lot of late nights in the dorm hall, sitting on the floor doing art while everybody else slept, or either in the art building. It was rather interesting because it pushed me in a way I wasn't familiar with. Graphic design is what I studied. Oil painting teachers kept trying to get me to be an oil painting major. And I just couldn't see how I could apply that and make it work. Now I wish I'd done it, but through doing the graphic design, it helped me become very detail oriented. And I think you can probably see it when you look at my animals, some of the detail that's in it. That's another reason why I tried to back off a little bit and relax with the palette knife. But I became very detail oriented, loved doing people, but the eyes of an animal to me, if I can capture the eyes and make you look into them, then I feel like I've done my job.
Do you take commissions?
I do all the time. I've got several sitting in my studio right now.
Yes. And do you do other paintings besides commission work?
I do. So right now I have a large commission sitting in my studio for a family. They have a ranch out in Helotes. So the landscape is the background of their ranch with their horses, their dog, and a tree and a windmill that's on their property. But then we are incorporating cowboys and a chuck wagon into it too. And it's at dusk and there's a fire and it's somewhat complicated. But I also do weddings. I like to do live wedding paintings when I have a chance.
Tell us, well, first of all, what is a live wedding painting? Is it just that?
It's just that you can give me a photograph and I can duplicate it, or I can go to the wedding. And if I have a chance to work with a photographer and they can Bluetooth me an image that I'm trying to capture, then I can start drawing it out and start painting on it before the group ever gets to the reception. So during the reception, I'll sit there and paint the scene that the bride and I already had spoken about.
So what is it like for people who attend a wedding to see you doing a live wedding painting, do they come up and talk to you? They
all the
question?
time. Yes, they're flabbergasted that somebody can sit there and paint with all the things going on. I get a lot of questions. A lot of people talk to me. Little kids will come up and want to take my paintbrushes and play. And I usually find a friend to go with me so they can keep an eye on my things. But yeah, the family members get excited and they love seeing the bride and groom. They love seeing the moment that was captured. And it's astounding to them that somebody can sit and paint. It's kind of astounding to me that I can do it too.
So what about the gift for the bride and groom themselves? A really unique way to memorialize and remember an incredibly special day for
It
yourself.
is.
What feedback do you get from those folks?
They love it because it's something that's caught in the moment. And most of the time, it's things that around them, the little things that around them that I try to capture in the painting as well. The color of the flowers, maybe the mood of the scene. When they get it, when they receive it, when they come over at the end of the day and start looking at it, they're just like, wow, oh my gosh, look, honey. And they get all excited and they're just overjoyed and welcome. They just want to say thank you. They love it. It's a lot of fun.
You use art in other ways as well.
do.
And I know you help women who have been trafficked or otherwise abused, and you use art to help them recover from that. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure, absolutely. I call it creating with the creator, and I work with the Mercy Gate Ministries, ladies who've been involved in sex trafficking or other things. They go there to receive healing and some help and to get on their feet. And one of the programs they offer is my program. And the ladies come in. We do what I call brain dumping, and that's just spending some time getting everything out of their mind and onto paper. And when they're in my studio and working, I want them to think of nothing but what it is God's trying to tell them. So they put everything down on the paper and they can throw it away, they can burn it, they can set it aside and pick up those problems when they get ready to walk out, or they can just let it go. And so once we do that, there's usually something that we work towards. And I'll ask questions, we'll spend time in prayer, and they have all kinds of different art things they can do. They can paint, they can color, they can use markers. Brought in a friend of mine who does clay, and so we'll work on clay. And it just gives them an opportunity to get out of their head and just feel what God's trying to tell them.
Do you use art in other types of therapy or to help people get through difficult times?
I haven't been asked that in a while, but yes, I have. I have used it to work with people in, where whenever there are older people that may have had loss of function or not have the memory that they need, I have gone in and worked with them and sit down and just painted with them, help them draw something out, help them get the colors on the paper. One lady I worked with was super, super special. Worked with her for several years and she finally passed, but it helped her with her memory recall. And I was one of the only recent people in her life that she was able to recognize and remember when I would come. And I'm sure it associated with the fact that it was art and it brought her back to the days when she did art on her own. That's really pretty awesome and pretty special to do that, to work with the elderly.
You've been very open about your faith. But what I wanted to ask you is, I've also heard you talk about the support you've received from your church.
Yes, they're amazing.
Yeah. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. In November, I had a major life change. My husband, I found him. I came home from doing a wedding and found him gone. He had passed on. And my church members, my church family, the leadership group, all of them, they just really came and rallied around me and supported me and were there for every little thing. They brought food. They were there with me praying. They were there during the whole time that I was dealing with the coroner and all this stuff that went down as I found him. My church is fantastic. They're wonderful. They're an extended family. In fact, I often call them my family to my personal family. They're amazing, very generous, very kind-hearted. They will go out of their way to do what they can. They're not judgmental at all. And that's one of the things that I truly love about them. And they also work very strongly with the recovery community.
How do they work with the recovery community?
We have a lot of folks from the recovery community come into the church. Since we have Mercy Gate, the ladies that found Mercy Gate also attend the church. And so because that's so tied into our church home, we have a lot from the recovery community just coming in, and they're just loved on, and people just take them into their hearts and into their homes through prayer, through support, through taking them to lunch, through just being there for them.
I want to turn to the Kerrville, Kerr County greater art scene.
Yes,
And we met actually in the summer of, or no, actually July of 2022 at the Hunt Art Fair.
we did.
And so I was wondering if you could just talk about the art scene, the Hunt art scene, and so how you guys support each other and some of the things or many things that the art scene has going on in Kerrville.
Sure, I can do my best. The Hunt Artists Group, we've just really been getting together more and more. They're super supportive. They're all retired from teaching, or they have been very involved in the art scene elsewhere. A lot of them have done shows, have had gallery shows, have traveled to do shows. And we just found each other and we're supporting each other and just helping with that camaraderie that you need in any professional situation. Looking at doing some other things for professional artists getting together. We'll actually be meeting here pretty soon just to talk a little bit more about how we want to make that work and what we want to bring as far as support and ideas of how we want to get those accomplished and things like that. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that's going to all come together and meld together. There's a lot of shows and everything that's happening constantly here. The Cultural Arts Center in Kerrville is a great place. So is the Fine Arts Center in Ingram. A lot of shows happening, a lot of things happening. The Texas Art Fair is coming up. That'll be at the Fine Arts Center in Ingram. And there's just a lot going on in the art world. There really is. I think we attract a lot of the creative people in our little town here, from everything from artists to chefs to authors. There's just so much going on. I love the community. It really encourages that.
So do you have any upcoming shows?
I do. Actually, on the 23rd, we have the Texas Heritage Art show that's going to be out there at the Fine Arts Center in Ingram. And then right after that, I'll be taking my work over to the Cultural Arts Center in Kerrville, KAC, on the 26th. I believe the show opens. There'll be 7 ladies from the Hunt area that will have a show all together in the large gallery there. And then hopefully I'm looking at trying to get into the San Antonio Rodeo. So we'll see how that goes.
If anyone wanted to check out your work, what would be the best place or places for them to go?
Great. I have social media. I have Deanna Eixman Art on Instagram, on Facebook, as well as my website, which is deannaeixman.com.
Deanna, I want to thank you again for taking the time to visit with me and helping me put this podcast together. And let's just see where we can take it.
It's my pleasure, and I'm so thrilled that you are doing this. Thank you for supporting the artists in our area.